Imagine what's possible when learning doesn't get in the way of life. At Capella University, our game-changing FlexPath learning format lets you set your own deadlines so you can learn at a time and pace that works for you. It's an education you can tailor to your schedule. That means you don't have to put your life on hold to pursue your professional goals. Instead, enjoy learning your way and earn your degree without missing a beat. A different future is closer than you think with Capella University. Learn more at capella.edu.
Hey, I'm Amanda from Trifecta Fitness. We're proud to be Clarksville's new Get Fit headquarters. Trifecta Fitness is a state-of-the-art spin and strength training studio. Our spin studio is truly one of a kind in this area, complete with 20 state-of-the-art live fitness bikes and an incredible sound system. Our strength training is done in small groups of 6 or fewer, and all of our strength and spin classes are scalable for every level of experience. Come see us in the heart of Clarksville, just behind MAPCO at the corner of Old Trenton Road and Wilma Rudolph Boulevard. Call us for more info at 931-542-6265 or download our Trifecta Fitness app for a full list of upcoming classes.
In October 2019, Arlington, Texas was chosen to be the home of a new national museum, unlike any other. The National Medal of Honor Museum will be a unique home of military history. The 100,000 square foot museum will house exhibits, archives, and artifacts relating to the 3,500 U.S. troops who have been awarded the medal, the nation's highest honor for valor in combat. The museum will have 31,000 square feet of galleries dedicated to U.S. troops who have received the award. The museum CEO, former Navy SEAL and NASA astronaut Chris Cassidy, said the museum will focus on education as much as preservation. The building will have 5 areas dedicated to Medal of Honor winners from the Army, Marine Corps, Navy, Air Force, and Coast Guard. The main gallery will be located in a central plaza under a 25,000 square foot slab of steel, which will appear to be suspended in midair. It will be supported by 5 pillars. Black Rifle Coffee is a corporate sponsor of the museum, as are the Dallas Cowboys. The museum's board also includes over a dozen major corporations and 6 Medal of Honor recipients, including David Bellavia, Patrick Brady, and Britt Slabinski. Army Staff Sergeant Bellavia was awarded the medal for clearing an entire house by himself on November 10, 2004, as a squad leader in support of Operation Phantom Fury in Fallujah, Iraq. He killed 4 enemy fighters and wounded a 5th in close quarters battle. Army Major General Brady flew and coordinated the evacuation of 51 seriously wounded men during a firefight in Vietnam in January 1968. Slabinski, a Navy SEAL chief and team leader, led a rescue team of SEALs during Operation Anaconda in Afghanistan in March 2002. Slabinski and his team flew to a mountaintop ambush site to rescue Petty Officer First Class Neil Roberts, who had fallen from the back of a helicopter. Slabinski led the team through almost constant combat against an entrenched Taliban force. Along with the board members, former presidents Jimmy Carter, Bill Clinton, George W. Bush, and Barack Obama serve as honorary directors. The museum is expected to open to the public in late 2024.
Hey, I'm Logan. I'm a Sergeant First Class in the Army, and I've been lucky enough to secure one of the charity slots provided by the Lifetime Foundation for next year's Leadville 100. In order to do this, I'm looking to raise around $2,800 over the course of the next year to donate to the Lifetime Foundation. A lot of their focus is on youth movement and nutrition and conservation, among other things. And it's a really great cause, and I appreciate any help that you guys could give. And a little bit goes a long way, and it'd be greatly appreciated. Thank you.
All right. Welcome back.
Misfit Nation, the Misfit Nation show.
We are a show founded by a veteran and hosted by 2 veterans and a military spouse. Our mission is to get people to tell their stories to the world. If you're an author, share your tips with the Misfit Nation. If you're a musician or an actor, our audience needs to know how they too can get into the business. Coaches, we love our coaches. Come on and share your tips with the Misfit Nation to help them become better versions of themselves. If you are a corporate leader or an entrepreneur, come on and show how you did it and how hard you have fought for success. If you are a veteran first responder, or Gold Star family, we would love to have you come on and share your story with the Misfit Nation. We always have time for you. If you're feeling down, alone, or starting to see the darkness, stop. Think about those who are around you. You are not alone. You will be missed. If you feel like your problems will be a burden to those in your inner circle or feel embarrassed, dial 988. If you are a veteran, take option 1. We need you to keep pushing forward. Don't make a permanent solution to a temporary problem. If you are a new listener, welcome to the Misfit Nation Show. Be sure to subscribe to our show on your favorite podcast app. Also on our YouTube channel at @the_MisfitNation. Subscribe and click the bell to keep you up to date on our latest episodes and all of our news. You can also find us on Heroes Media Group and About Face Radio. Now, let's get to the show!
All right. Welcome back to the Misfit Nation Show. It's your Thursday after dinner show. We have a good one tonight, but first, as always, we were hoping we'd go at least one show without having to do one of these, but again, we have lost another officer. Tonight, we are talking about Deputy Sheriff Kaylee Campbell out of Oswego County Sheriff's Office in Oswego, New York. End of watch September 25th, 2024. Rest easy, Deputy Campbell, and keep your thoughts and prayers and her in your thoughts and prayers, her family, her friends, and all her peers as they go through this tough time. Let's strive to do better, people, and be better humans as we move forward. Like I said, tonight we have a good one. Our next guest, he's the author of Guns, Girls, and Greed. I was a Blackwater Mercenary in Iraq. He joined the Air Force in '99, participated in the ground offensive into Iraq in 2003. From 2004 and 5, he was a private military contractor, PMC for Blackwater. He then got out of the military. He got out of that and went to Tufts University, became an Army intelligence officer, and served in the Army. In 2009, 2010, upon leaving the service, he attended Tufts University School of Law and Diplomacy, obtaining a Master's of International Business degree in International Banking and Finance. So without further ado, let's welcome Morgan Lerette to the Misfit Nation Show. Welcome, Morgan.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. That hype music, it's got me going, man. My heart beats up.
I'm glad you're in a nice, cool place where you don't have to sweat so much, and it keeps you nice and calm there.
Yeah, exactly. At least there's air conditioning.
Yeah, that's always a plus. Thank God for modern technology. So, Morgan, I gave basically your first paragraph of your bio there. That's what I talked about. Tell us a little more about you from as far back as you want to go to why you made the choice you did coming forward and how we got to where we are today.
Yeah, so look, I was like the poster child for joining the military back in 1999. Before all the cool wars kicked off, I joined the military because I came from a small town and wanted to get out of there. It was either that or I was going to work construction, and I did that during the summers, and it's a bummer to work construction in Arizona during the summers. So I ended up joining the Air Force, actually the Air National Guard, and I was like, they're going to pay for my college, be the first one to go to college. Man, I was living high, and then September 11th happened, and my pager went off. My pager. For the younger audience, those are the things that blow up if you're with Hezbollah. All right.
There you go.
So I ended up being activated for a couple of years, went into the ground offensive of Iraq, and it was so boring. Like this is like 99% of going into a combat zone is absolute boredom. And my buddy, who also joined the Air National Guard after he got out of the Marines, was like, I'm going to go work for Blackwater. I said, dude, have fun. That's those guys, the Blackwater guys got hanged off the bridge in March 04. And he was talking about it in like June 04. And I was like, dude, you're absolutely crazy. He went to Blackwater. They asked for anybody that wanted to go work for him. And he's like, hey, call my buddy Morgan. And the guy calls me and he's like, hey, you want to work for Blackwater? And I was like, I'm not a tier 1 guy. I wasn't that cool. And he's like, oh, that's fine. If you pass the training, you can go. And your buddy vouched for you. So I was like, I really don't want to go that bad. And he said, how about for $550 a day? And I said, yeah, I'd like to go. I'd like to do that for that kind of money. So that's really what the book is about, is that 18 months I spent working for Blackwater. And everybody thinks they know what Blackwater did. You absolutely have not heard the real story, right? You've read Jeremy Skakill's book or Eric Prince's book. Both of those have bents, right? Like one of them is saying Blackwater's the greatest thing since sliced bread. The other one says, well, like, Blackwater's the mercenary Army. My book's just about what we did on the ground. It's all about the guns, talking about girls and just making more money than I thought I'd ever make in my adult life. So it was freaking awesome.
Well, I bet I ran across those young men that were on the bridge. We were the first unit to arrive after that happened. So that was my first interaction with Blackwater. It was a weird interaction because, they weren't with us anymore.
Yeah, no, I mean, it was crazy. And that's the thing about private military contractors is, they bring you over there with all that cash. And then if something bad does happen, like the guys that got hanged in Fallujah, or we had, I think 41 people ended up dying working for Blackwater. And once you're over there, if something bad happens, it just like, you don't have the same military honors. You don't have the same, you don't come home to a parade when you're done with your deployment. You just come home and hang out with yourself. So it's a very isolated world, which I kind of start getting into in the book is how do you actually feel about this, knowing that you're there, making money as opposed to raising your right hand. I mean, it did feel pretty good every time I got paid. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Yeah, I'm sure that paycheck was nice, especially in the early days when they were just throwing money at the contractors. Up until probably about 4 or 5 years ago, actually, they still were overseas. Now it's it depends on who the contract is owned by. So it's a different world now.
Yeah, they were making it rain on us like we were strippers. But now it's not nearly as lucrative. It does depend on the contract. But God, I thought private military contractors were going to die after Iraq and Afghanistan, and they've actually just gotten bigger and bigger and bigger. And I'm happy to talk about kind of where they are and what they're doing. But it's like the seedy underbelly of government agencies is using private military contractors. It's absolutely insane.
It is, and like I told you in the green room, I am one of them now, and I'm on that side of the fence, and I'm one of the people I used to hate when I was in the uniform. I saw damn contractor. Now I am that damn contractor. So it's a whole other world once you do decide, and like you said, it's a weird game that it's in.
Yeah, so I mean, and Blackwater was just like it. Nobody even knew Blackwater existed until Fallujah, right? I had no idea that you had all these, military contractors over there. And then it just got bigger and bigger and bigger. And then what do guys do when you're bored and you make too much money and you're allowed to drink while you're overseas? You just do stupid crap. And I remember we were sitting around. It was on my birthday. We were sitting around this fire pit, and somebody like pulls a round out of their Glock 9mm and they throw it into the fire. And then everybody's like, "What are you doing, dude?" And he's like, "Oh, it's fine. It's kind of pop and it's not a big deal." So next thing you know, there's probably like 10, 15 rounds in there, and they start cooking off like this blue spark, and it pops. And I'm like, dude, I'm going to die on my 24th birthday. Like, what are they going to send to my mom? Like, Morgan died honorably while protecting diplomats in Iraq, when really I was drinking Corona and hanging out around a bonfire. Like, just, parties at the pool. I'm sure you got to, if you were there and you got to the larger embassy offices, you got to see the Blackwater guys getting wasted by the pool and all the MPs just sitting there going like, please go home. Don't make my life harder.
I wasn't able to get to that side of I was in Ramadi almost my whole tour. Ramadi and up to Fallujah was our jurisdiction, basically our operational environment. Ramadi to Fallujah, Ramadi out to, Al-Asad Air Base to the west. So we had a pretty good footprint that way, but I didn't get to see any pools. Someone sent us a pool that we built and we had the Seabees fill up for us, but we were the good looking people around it.
It was just a sausage fest around the old kiddie pool, huh?
With O'Douls.
With O'Douls.
Yes. So, I mean, you had a lot of experience with them. If you want to share any of that stuff, or if you want to share snippets of the book, don't share the whole book, because then we want people to buy it still. So.
Yeah. So look, Blackwater came to fruition because I'm gonna shock your audience here. We didn't plan the Iraq War very well before we went in. Please don't spit your coffee out. So when we went into Iraq, we got rid of all the Ba'ath Party, which was Saddam Hussein stuff. And you hear about we disbanded the military, we got rid of the Ba'ath Party. Well, at the same time, when we disbanded the military, we got rid of anybody that knew how to run the government. I'm talking about from like, how do you run the Ministry of Oil to export oil, all the way down to how do you make sure that trash is being picked up once every couple of weeks in the different neighborhoods in Baghdad. So the U.S. State Department came in once we gave sovereignty to the Iraqis, And they said, don't worry, this is a diplomatic mission, right? George W. Bush on the carrier, huge victory, mission accomplished. So the State Department goes in, and technically the State Department was running Iraq, an active combat zone. And all these diplomats had to go from place to place. And they said, well, how are we going to protect these guys? Now, I worked with some of the State Department protective services. They're right up there with Donald Trump's Secret Service people, right? Like they're not the cream of the crop. And they're used to like ferrying diplomats around to to China and all these places that are relatively safe. So they hired a bunch of knuckle draggers like me and, former Navy SEALs. I was like the funk figure. I was the Air Force guy. But, I'm sitting there with SEALs and Dev Group guys and CAG and Special Forces, Recon Marines, like the baddest of the bad dudes on the planet. And we would just essentially take diplomats from, point A to point B. Well, I got there in August 2004, and that's when everything just started blowing up. You had all the sectarian violence. The Shias were going after the Sunnis. Yeah, the Shias, like what do they call them? The Shia kill squads that would go into the Sunni neighborhoods and boot them out. That's why you had such a fun time in Anbar province.
Yes.
Is because they kicked all the Sunnis out of Baghdad and they went over to Ramadi and Fallujah. We're like, bro, this isn't my house. Let me get a gun, right?
Yep.
So when we didn't have rules of engagement, all we knew is that every morning we woke up with rockets hitting. Fun fact about rockets and mortars, they actually do make that whistling sound when they come at you. I thought that was for the movies. No, it's real. It's crazy. So when we had to take somebody from point A to point B, we did it as fast and as violently as possible. So on the one hand, you have the State Department that's sitting there trying to teach people how to run the country of Iraq, and we're protecting them, but we're pissing off everybody in the process. And on the other side, you have the military that's trying to operate within their environment and be able to like rebuild the country. And we never coordinated anything. We didn't have radio comms. We would leave Baghdad and I couldn't get a hold of anybody. So if something happened, it's just you and like 12 dudes. And coming from the military, I was like, this just doesn't seem right. But it was just how it was. We had a convoy get hit April 17th of 2005. We had a convoy get hit and they couldn't get comms because they were on their way to Ramadi. So they had to drive to the next checkpoint where Marines were chilling and get an escort into the base in Ramadi. And one of our guys ended up dying. But it was just, when you talk about the Wild West, it was the Wild West. I mean, go on YouTube, look up Blackwater and Baghdad. And I'm in a lot of the videos. I'm in a Humvee, so you can't see me, which is best because, this is not a pretty face to look at. But that's how we rolled, man, in 04, 05.
It'd be like Bad Boys 2 when they're trying to explain to the captain what's going on. Oh, there's DEA. Oh, there's Morgan. No, he's right. Oh, there's the DEA. I mean, Morgan. He's right there. He's on the bridge. He's in the cloverleaf. There he is.
That was, dude. I mean, here's the thing that I've realized about like special operations guys is they are so driven that if they would have went to college, they would have went to Harvard. They'd be lawyers. They'd be the guys that are like in the courtroom or on Wall Street making millions of dollars. But they grew up like I did, right? They grew up on a farm or they grew up in a small town. And they're like, what are you going to do? They go into the military and they are probably bar none the most intelligent people I've ever met and just the most competitive people. So when we're at the pool, it was before the drinking started, but we had a day off, right? Fridays were always your day off. So we go to the pool and we're playing water polo. And dude, I swam on swim team, in junior high. I know how to swim. I'm pretty decent at it. And I grab the ball and this Navy SEAL grabs me by the shoulders and takes me down to the bottom of the pool. Saddam's pool. It's like 15 meters deep. Maybe not that far, 15 feet, 20 feet max. And I'm holding on to the ball and I'm looking up and I'm thinking, what the hell am I doing? Like playing water polo with Navy SEALs and Recon Marines. And this guy like is just staring at me and I'm staring at him like it's like a Mexican standoff. I let go of the ball, dude. He's like a Labrador retriever, just takes off after the ball, lets me up. I surface for air. And I was like, I think I better take 30 seconds to catch my breath, guys. You keep going. You won the day. His name was Dean. He's freaking cool guy.
I'm sure when you're going down with him, he's bringing you down them 15 feet. Where are we going, dude? Where are we going? I'm underwater.
I was like, I just hope I hit the bottom.
I hope I find the bottom at some point. Because I know you're used to drowning. I'm not. Thank you.
Yeah,
I'm sure you got some cool missions over there too.
Say that again.
You got to do some cool missions over there as well, didn't you?
Yeah, so like the first team I got hooked into was the Regime Crimes Liaison Office. And these were the guys that were collecting evidence against Saddam Hussein and Chemical Ali. And if you're old like me, you can kind of barely remember when Saddam Hussein gassed the Kurds in 1988. And it was all in the news. But essentially, we went and we collected evidence for all the things that Saddam Hussein and Chemical Ali did against the Kurds primarily. So we got to go up to Kurdistan, which is beautiful. I mean, it is absolutely beautiful. I know most people are going to be like, Iraq can't be pretty. It really is. It's gorgeous. It actually snows up there a little bit. It's nice. So we would go to these like villages and these mud huts, man. I mean, like you're going back into the Stone Age, but somehow there's one power line that goes to it and one light bulb that's sitting in somebody's mud hut. And he's like the chief elder. And there are no males that are like my age and younger.
Oh, wow.
Because what Saddam Hussein did is he took his troops after the invasion that we did in like 93. I don't remember. But Desert Storm, Desert Shield,
91.
Sent his soldiers into every Kurdish village. And if you were a military age male between the age of like 8 to 35, they just killed them. They buried them in mass graves. And then we would go to these villages and the village elders would say, yeah, this is what happened. This is when it happened. And it's kind of sobering because you're sitting there and you see little kids and you see old men and women and like some younger women, but nothing in between. And you realize just how savage that guy was. Now, I say that, but I'm gonna go back on myself and say, even though he was savage, I don't know that we would have this much turmoil in the Middle East if we hadn't booted him out, because he was kind of a stabilizing force. He was like the king crazy of all the crazy areas. He was like the one stable thing in that area. And now we are where we are.
He was the tip of the crazy sphere. Even when he attacked the Kurds in Halabja, he had all the military age males leave the town to go react to something. And then attacked a town with the chemical weapons, killing women and children. And elderly women and children were all killed in an attack. Not many of the military age males were killed, and he saved them for the second attack.
Yeah, so that was in 1988, and we went to Halabja, and they have this museum, and it's kind of creepy, to be honest with you. It's like exactly what you would expect in Iraq. It's like this building, it's all made of marble, and it's got this hand that's coming out of the ceiling. But you go through it and you see all the pictures and you see what happened. And then right on the outside, there's a statue of a guy that's like leaning over a woman. It's one of the more famous pictures, but if you look at it from the right angle, it looks like they're having some intimate time together. And I thought, you need guys with a sick mind like me to look at these statues before the Martin Luther King Boston statue comes into play. Like, have me look at it. I'll tell you if there's like a bunch of sickness that goes with it, because I'm that guy.
I can see the other stuff.
Yeah.
You may not be able to see those pictures. Like, I can't see the sailboat and those crazy paintings, but other people can, and you're that guy.
Yeah. Except the sailboats are always having sex. It's
a weird sailboat. Yeah, everyone finds those weird sailboats. It's just a weird town too. So then you got done with that, and you decided to join the correct force. You joined the Army.
That was a mistake. That was oh my god. I was in the ROTC and people would say like, what's better, the Air Force or the Army? And I was like, the Air Force. Like, I'm not trying to be a butthole, but it's the Air Force. I joined the ROTC to fly helicopters because they have all the helicopters. I was like, man, that'd be really cool. And then you sign the contract and you got to go through this whole process, like the order of merit list. And then at the end, they say, okay, now you can do whatever you want. And I said, fly helicopters. And they said, that's a 7.5-year contract. And I said, I ain't doing that. I know I'm not going to like the Army that much. So I ended up going Intel, and I'll be damned, man. They sent me literally back to the same. First, they sent me back to Iraq. I mean, I should have bought a condo there. I was hanging out there so much. Like, give me something on the Euphrates, for cheap and with a view. And then I was down at Cop Cache where they had their nuclear reactor, and the Israelis bombed it, I think in like 89 or 90. But it was all radioactive stuff. You can look it up. It's called like Operation Yellow Cake, where we had to go in and take all the yellow cake out of this old reactor when we invaded. And then after that, they sent me to the same damn place where I was running the evidence against Saddam Hussein and Chemical Ali. He sent me up to JSS Justice. So at least I got some cool pictures of like where Saddam Hussein was hanged. That was kind of nice. Fun fact on that. So you got the gallows. You have to walk up the gallows, and the steps are only 4 inches tall, right? Because you have to be able to walk up there if your feet are in chains.
Right.
So you get up there, and there's like the draw or the handle. You pull on it, the door falls out. You know, you go on your rope swing. It was so loud because it's all metal. It was so loud that when they would do the drop door, it would swing back and it would hit the bottom of this metal thing. And then everybody would go and start shooting at each other over in Solder City. So Iraqi ingenuity, you remember those crappy mattresses that you got issued that were like all foam? Maybe you'd have a spring in it that would hit you in the hip.
Yeah, we didn't get those.
Oh, geez. Well, so they took a mattress and they like put super glue on the mattress and put it on the bottom of the hanging door to make it less loud when they were hanging people. But I did get to I want to say meet, but I got to see the little guy with the mustache that was like their dude that would say like, the Americans are coming in and they are putting explosions in pens. They are killing our children. I can't remember what his name was, but he had like this little tiny mustache. He was in there. Yeah, he was spectacular. But they had like this little area where they could walk around, and he sat there literally for like the 15 minutes I was outside, and he just sat there combing his little tiny beard in this one mirror that they had. Everybody else is like trying to get a little exercise. He's like, I want my beard to be my sweet mustache to look as good as it possibly can, just in case.
Priorities.
You gotta have them.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's something a lot of people probably would love to go see. That they probably would have loved to see him dangling there. But I was in country when they caught him, and it was funny because we went downtown Ramadi at the time, and they were walking down the street protesting that we found him, and we had the National Guard unit from Florida was our infantry unit at the time. It was downtown Ramadi, and the crowds wouldn't disperse, so they just started shooting their 50 over their heads right down the road to get them to disperse. I mean, they're just holding up like trash, saying like pieces of copy paper boxes, yelling at us. I was like, this is like the most insane people I've ever seen. Then they started shooting us. Okay, this is going to get bad quick. And it flipped really, really fast. And things went to hell in a handbasket as January turned to February. And of course, into March.
Yeah, well, I used to love it. There was, like when something good happens, but you don't know about it, and you just start hearing the gunfire, and you see the tracers going around in the air, and you're like, I know it's a like a 4 or 5 to 1, depending on how many bullets they have in this thing, but you'd see tracers, and somebody would be like, oh yeah, Iraq won a soccer game over in UAE or something really stupid. But I was walking to the embassy. I got no kit on. I got my Glock 9mm on my hip, and this Army lieutenant colonel, he's got his flak vest on, but it doesn't have any kit on it, right? He's just got his Molly, but you could tell he doesn't have any magazine pouches. And the guy's like, man, it's crazy out there. It's raining lead. And I looked at him and was like, what are you talking about? And he's like, yeah, I mean, it's crazy that we're getting shot at, but we can just stand here and watch it. And I just laughed at that guy. It was like, we're never going to win the war. If these are the lieutenant colonels they're sending over, like thinking that he's in the poop because somebody won a soccer game and they're shooting up in the air, like we're done. But hey, pay me. Why not?
Or there's a wedding, or maybe a kid was born. Let's shoot in the air.
Yeah, somebody picked up an empty pack of cigarettes and there was one at the bottom, and they were like, oh, let's shoot some bullets.
I have a whole magazine in my pocket. I can shoot. No one will care. So was it hard adjusting going from Blackwater and then back into military?
Yeah, I mean, it was exceptionally difficult. One, because of the pay, and two, because there's so much autonomy when we worked with Blackwater, right? Big boy rules. If you didn't bring your water, nobody cared. Like, that's your own fault. Like, not trying to be a butthole, but you're a big boy. And then I got into the Army, and it was like, now everybody take the next 45 minutes to make sure that everybody has water, or have somebody check out your car to make sure that you can drive it on your 3-day weekend. And I'm like, this is insane. The way we micromanage soldiers is absolutely insane. And I was more than ready to leave. I got out as a captain. I was like, it's time to move on. The Army is great for kids like me to go in, do 5, 6, 7 years, learn a skill, get out, use your GI Bill, do whatever you have to. But is a long-term career, man, I couldn't gut it out. I couldn't do it. I'm a quitter.
You just like new things all the time. You have that military mindset where things have to change every so often. So you just change careers every so often to make that feel the same way, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, if I spend more than 4 or 5 days at a company, I feel like I'm stagnant. I gotta apply for 1,000 jobs. Not really, but when you get older, you kind of slow down and think maybe I could just stay here. It's not so bad.
Yeah, I can just stay here a couple years maybe. And did you stay at JBLM the whole time or Fort Lewis the whole time?
Dude, I got to Fort Lewis, and I think it was 14 months where we did our pub to Iraq, did a year in Iraq, came back, did I think another 5 or 6 months while I was processing out. And then that was pretty much it. So as much as I was stationed there the whole time, and then you have JRTC and you have, oh my God, if you've never been to Fort Polk, Louisiana, you guys are missing out. Just go down there and soak it in, especially in June and July, like when I was there. It is a beautiful place.
It's one of the best places on earth in June and July. Yes. It's a time when you can just cook yourself out there for no reason whatsoever. I was actually down there in July learning to fly small unmanned aircraft systems last year. It was horrible.
Oh no, I mean, look, that's a pretty cool story that you got. But at the end of the day, I was there in June and July, and we had a lieutenant colonel that was yelling at the people that were washing our clothes, and he's like, "Get our clothes over here right now!" And none of them were dry, and they all got mildewed, and it was just like a stink fest for the last week and a half of being there. I was like, I can't wait to be out of here. But the wild pigs are fun to watch.
There's a lot of fun things there. It's an amazing place. I get to go there still with my job now, and but I get to leave, so I don't have to stay out in the office. I get to go to a hotel every night and rinse off Fort Polk for me, or Fort Johnson now. So it's
did they change its name?
Oh yeah, they changed the name. It's still the same pain, but they changed the name.
Oh well, it eases it a little bit, maybe.
Yeah, makes you feel better. It's called Fort Johnson instead of Fort Polk. So if God gives the world an enema, he'll stick the tube right into Fort Polk.
I mean, that is absolutely fair.
That's a fair statement.
we got there. We had a kid. God, I still remember his name because I didn't like the kid, but he was a PFC at the time. And dude, I told him, like, I had already been to Iraq a few times and was like, drink water, dude, drink water, or else you guys are gonna get the probe, like you're gonna get the internal temp check. Yes. And dude, he became a heat cat, and we're like getting him to the medical tent, and he's like, he had a list. He's like, don't let him probe me, sir. Don't let him probe me, sir. And I was like, I won't, man. It's fine. Just go back behind that curtain. And then he got probed and came back out. Was like, you promised. And I was like, dude, I would have told you that, like, you know, a supermodel was back there to get you back to hydrate and get an IV. Like, it is what it is.
And then after you leave that, all this action you had in Blackwater, you got to deploy as the Air Force, deploy with the Army. Then you go to Tufts University and you become part of their marathon team and finish just prior to the marathon bombing.
Yeah, no, that was fun. I ran it in 2011, and then I ran it again in 2013. And when you finish up the marathon, they actually kind of circle you back, right? So you finish the marathon, you go forward, they circle you back towards the finish line. And I was standing there talking to my buddy and my wife, and there was like the explosion, and then there was the secondary explosion, and I was like it was small, right? These are pressure cookers. These aren't large scale munitions. My buddy goes, I think that was a bomb. He had no military experience. I was like, dude, that wasn't a bomb. Absolutely not. Like, if it was a bomb, you would have everybody running this way. They'd all be on their cell phones, and they'd like be screaming. And I would say like 45 seconds later, everybody's running towards us with their cell phones. And I was like, bro, that was a bomb. Get out of the city. And this guy's like, no, I'm going to stick around and have some beers with my family and relax. And I was like, that's not how it works after a bombing, bro. I'm telling you, get out of the city. So my wife and I actually got to the yellow line, or no, it was the orange line for the T to take us back out to Medford. And we were like the last one before they literally did like the full cordon and search. Like, everything stopped. We had guys there, you know, you're running in skimpy stuff, but we had guys there, and it's starting to turn dark and they're freezing to death. But you couldn't get in or out of the city, man. And then I would say like 3 days later, there was a power outage, and everybody, social media wasn't that big back then, but everybody was like, oh my God, it's the bombers. And I was like, dude, it could just be a power outage, guys. It's not that big of a deal. But yeah, dude, we were locked down. COVID locked us down. It was the same thing as like a COVID lockdown for 3 to 4 days while they were doing the search for the bombers, man. It was a weird time to be in Boston.
I bet, yeah. And at least during that lockdown, there was a reason to be locked down, unlike during COVID. So
that's fair. Yeah, everybody came by and was like, "Hey, if you just take this shot, the bombers won't mess with you.
They'll go away.
Fine. Yeah, you're gonna be great.
Just do this. You stare at the light. Nothing happens."
It's like, no, I got ivermectin, and they're like, that won't work.
I can't even spell that. You're good. So, what adventure do you think you're gonna do next?
And man, I got 2 kids. I got, they're younger, and that is an adventure enough. I started writing because becoming a new father is the craziest thing. Like, as a woman, you have all these books that are like what to expect when you're expecting, and like, oh, at the 3rd day of the 18th trimester, this is going to happen. Dudes, like, dude, this kid just comes out, and it's just this new thing. And it was like the greatest but most shocking thing ever, because they pick your kid up and they put him on essentially one of those heating pads that they have at restaurants to make your cheese melt, to keep the kid warm. And I was like, what the hell is going on? So my daughter's sitting there with just looks like a ham sitting on this heating tray. And my wife looks at me and goes, "You can go say hi." And I was like, oh yeah, that's what I'm supposed to do. Like, I was not prepared for it. And that's my own fault. But I didn't have, I had a younger brother growing up, but I had no idea what parenting is. And it's an absolute hoot. Love it to death. But every day is an absolute adventure, man.
It's something different every day too.
Yeah.
And, you think of all the things you did as a kid that maybe made your parents go, ugh. And you're waiting for that to happen as your kids grow up as well. So that's part of the adventure too, the ups and downs, the roller coaster of being a parent. And then, of course, you have to worry about things that they might break on themselves as they play sports or do whatever they do outside.
Yeah, it is like, I used to be more of a nurture versus nature type of guy, and then I had kids, and I was like, oh man, that was me when I was a kid. Like my son has no filter. I'll be like, "Hey, do you want to go to Home Depot with me?" And he's like, "No." Like, "Why not?" And he's like, "Because I don't want to." I was like, oh dang, like that was me. So I'm just sitting here like, damn it, my genetics passed along. I thought I was just a butthole, but no, it's genetically inclined to be a butthole.
Dad would be proud.
Yeah.
He's going to be saying, "Well, look, that's what you get. Going to Home Depot with you. There's nothing there."
He's like, "Look, I'm not doing any more plumbing. Get the heck out of here."
You're not paying me, Dad.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is an adventure. That is one big adventure, especially having more than one. At least you only have a small fire team to deal with. And it'll be joyous as they get out of the house and you become an empty nester. They come back, believe me, they come back often. Even when they're gone, they come back. And even though you still want to walk around the house naked, they come back. So you got to be prepared for that as well.
Well, that's not good. That's not going to be good for me. I mean, my neighbors already call the cops and complain. I do it enough. So,
do you think you'll write a second book?
Yeah, I started writing a second book, kind of digging into the whole veteran suicide thing. And you guys mentioned it earlier. What drives me crazy about it is that people say, oh, they were a veteran, they're committing suicide. Hey, I'll do some push-ups for it. But at the end of the day, before they get into the military, there's 18 to 22 years approximately before they get in. And then they get into the military, and then you have your life after the military. And there's so many different variables that need to be accounted for, that flippantly saying, oh, it's because they joined the military drives me up the wall. So like I mentioned earlier, Blackwater lost 41 guys in combat operations. We've lost 43 to suicide since, because when you come home as a private military contractor, you don't have the VA, you don't have the medical, you really don't have anything except you and your thoughts. All your buddies are either back in Iraq or they're spread across the country. It's not like when you deploy as a military member, you go with your unit, come back with your unit, you assimilate back with your unit. It's just you. And I think that that's part of the reason why private military contractors just keep going back, right? They're chasing the dragon. All your friends are over there. You're not making money while you're at home. So I may as well just keep going back. And then, I mean, think about it just from a soldier perspective. If you were coming home and spending 3 to 4 weeks at home and then doing another 6 months, 2 months at home, another 6 months, like it just slowly builds. So the second book is really kind of digging into that path into the military, what happens in the military, what happens after, and then saying like, why would one person make it or not? And it's more of a thought experiment as opposed to being able to pinpoint what it is. Because what I've noticed, a lot of the people that I know that have committed suicide were not your frontline combat guys, right? And I think the U.S. population would be shocked by that. They think you get PTSD because you're out there and you're running and gunning and you're smashing cars with your Humvee and it makes it on YouTube and people are looking for you, from the government. Not that I'm crazy. I got my tinfoil hat back there, but it really is like just this culmination of the stress of being there, right? Whether you're being rocketed, whether you're just sitting there and your command is telling you you have to wear your PT belt and do your bicycle awareness training and all that stupid stuff where there's no outlet for 9 to 12 months. And then you come home and everything is the same, but everything's different. I call it going into a wormhole. It's probably like a Marvel thing, but like you go in, you come out a year later, you're the same person in your head, but everything is just a little bit off, right? It's like Thanos clicked his fingers together and everything's different. And it's just hard to put yourself in that position. So that's my hope, is I can write this book, finish it up, and at least give people some perspective of all the variables that happened before and after you join the military that also are part of why men and women that have everything to live for are choosing not to.
Yep. And like you said, chasing the dragon, that's a big adrenaline junkies, like the guys you were with. A lot of them were chasing that next contract, signing that next paper to go. There was soldiers that were jumping on the very next deployment, come home, not even a couple months. I'll waive my dwell time and go. And then they come back and they don't know what to do with their hands because everything was go for so long. And you're on 24/7. Most people when they're overseas, and when they come home, they don't have to be, but their mind does that. So they can't sleep and they lose focus, and there's multiple different reasons. And I think some of it is upbringing, and some of it is what happens to you, and some of it is just losing that sense of purpose. And all that combined will be good in your book.
Yeah, well, and then I did it myself, drowning yourself with alcohol because that's what you lean to in the military. And then I haven't met a whole lot of people that committed suicide that were sober. I'm sure it happens, but just from like the Blackwater guys, they were pretty downtrodden and kind of just spiraling down. So I don't know if it'll help. Maybe it'll sell 3 or 4 books, and somebody will read it and say, "Holy crap, it is more complex." But that's my hope, man.
Reach one, teach one. That's all you gotta do. Yeah. Reach one, teach one, and then maybe it'll flow like a tidal wave and get everyone involved. And we do our little part here on the show by telling them that they are worth it. They need to be here, and to use the hotline or phone a friend. Phone a damn friend. If you're feeling that bad, phone a friend. They will answer. Or maybe your friend should be calling you too. We have a thing called the 5 to 1 here in EOD in the chemical world. You do 5 to 1 to 5 pounds to 1 pound of chemical, 5 pounds of explosives to burn it. So in every one of us, we have at least 5 people we can reach out to. And those 5 people should be reaching back to us too. It's a two-way street.
Yeah. I mean, look, dude, I would rather spend an hour having a conversation with you than have to show up to your funeral like all day. And like anybody that's on here, you feel free to reach out to me through the social media. It doesn't make any sense. And I've had a couple of people that I've actually had, like the Blackwater guy that we ended up doing a health and welfare check on him when he was having a bad time. I got another buddy, he's not military, but like I've seen where you're at. I've been where you're at, and it sucks. But dude, it gets better. And everybody says that like it's a platitude. It's not. Like it's legit. It gets better.
And you said reach out to you on social media. What is your handle on social media?
At Blackwater Dude 1. It's very original. But it's on X, on Instagram, on TikTok. If you want to go on there and see me shake my butt around, like a teenager. But yeah, track me down, because I try to get back to everybody that reaches out to me on all those. And it's not a deluge of humans. So track me down and I'll definitely help where I can.
And what's the best place to get your book?
Best place to get my book is on Amazon. If you want a signed copy, you got to reach out to me on social media, and then we can figure that one out. What I will say is Jay Moore, the comedian Jay Moore, he was in like Jerry Maguire, he was on Saturday Night Live. He read the audio and did a spectacular job. So nothing like a comedian, because dude, the book is heavy, but it's also really light. You were in the military. You could have a really heavy day, and at the end of it, be like, all right, well, now we need to go. All we do is make jokes. Dark humor is a coping mechanism. Yes. So when Jay Moore read it, he's like, dude, I'll read the audio for you. So did a spectacular job. You can pick it up if you don't want to read the printed word.
Outstanding. Don't be afraid to reach out to him for that signed copy, and just do the DM thing to get that. I'm guessing, not instead of saying right in the comments on that. Morgan, what's 3 things the audience can do to maybe make their life a little better tomorrow?
Dude, write a list of what you're thankful for. Like it's crazy. And you only have to do 1 or 2 things, but like write a list of what is actually thankful. And I learned this through a number of different ways, but I'll write a list and say, like, I'm happy. I'm thankful that I got to wake up and run my dogs, and I'm happy to see the sunset. And then I'm happy that there's actually a refrigerator here so that I got cold water when I get home. And by the time you write 3 or 4 of these things down, you're like, okay, dude, this is actually pretty good stuff. The second thing is leverage your benefits. If you're a military member or a private military contractor, leverage your benefits, whether it's disability, whether it's a GI Bill. If you're a private military contractor, you work for Blackwater, Dying Corps, Triple Canopy, reach out to me. There's something called a Defense Base Act where you can get paid for any injuries up to like PTSD, psychological injuries. Leverage all that stuff, man. Like, you earned it. Go get it. And then, the third thing is take a nap. You know how great naps are? Like, just go and take it like 20 minutes. It'll make your whole life different. Take a nice nap.
Like Joey and Ross on Friends. Just take a nap.
Yeah, just do it. I remember when I got back from Blackwater, I was at the community college, and I was taking a nap right in like the main foyer area. And the security guard came over and poked me, and I was like, He's like, you okay? And I was like, yeah, bro, you just woke me up from my nap. Take a nap. Who cares if it's on a random couch? Just take a nap, dude.
That's outstanding. Morgan, this has been great chatting with you. Hopefully Barry was able to jump on and check us out. If not, I'll let him know that it was on tonight, and he'll go into the YouTube sphere tomorrow and check it out as well. But thanks for agreeing to come on and share your story with me and the Misfit Nation tonight.
Oh man, Rich, I'm so thankful that you had me on. Appreciate it.
No problem. Have a great night.
Take care.
This message is from the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs. Did you serve in the military? If so, you can obtain a free lifetime pass to more than 2,000 federal recreation sites. These sites are located across more than 400 million acres of public lands, including national parks, wildlife refuges, and forests. The lands host activities to fit any lifestyle: hiking, biking, fishing, camping, and much more. Gold Star families are also eligible for these free lifetime passes. Plus, they cover entrance fees for a driver and all passengers in a car, or up to 3 additional adults at sites that charge per person. Obtaining one is easy. Just go to the National Park Service website, nps.gov, or the National Park Service app.
Thanks for checking us out and being a part of the Misfit Nation show. Don't forget to visit our website at themisfitnation.com That's themisfitnation.com. Check out all our past episodes and get some of the great Misfit Nation gear for you and your family. As always, be humble, stay hungry, and keep hustling because we are
Misfit Nation. Misfit Nation.